Tutorial time! Alright guys, today we're doing, it's fucking crazy. We're doing a tutorial on how to make an environment. Crazy, right? I know, there's so many steps that I had to write out a script. Anyways, this is a new way of making these tutorials. I think, I'm experimenting a little bit. Just let me do my thing, son. You know what? Let's just jump into the video. If you like these type of videos, make sure like, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. And yeah, is that it? Yeah, that's it. Good intro. First, model a grass strand. What you're gonna use here is you're probably gonna use a little like plane or something, and then you're gonna tab into edit mode and then edit that thing to look like a strand. I'm not gonna teach you specifically how to use these editing tools because I'm doing such a bigger video. If you know how to use Blender, this will be okay. Next, once you get your strand modeled, you're going to subdivide that just a tiny bit, just a little bit, you know. Control 2, got Node Wrangler on. You got your little like fuzzy little bulb. Just follow along. Follow along if you don't know how to do it. I don't know what to tell you. Now we're gonna texture the strand. This is really basic. I'm just gonna use a gradient texture here and kind of plop it on. Do that whole thing. Pretty simple, you know. Just you texture it. Use a normal map, and boom, you got yourself a little strand. Next, what you're gonna want to do is create 3 to 5 variations using this strand to make essentially bigger clumps of grass, little shrubs, bushes, shrub, whatever. They're bunched up. Make a bunch of them, and you're gonna make 3 to 5 of them for the sake of this tutorial and simplicity's sake. And once I make one of them, I'm probably gonna make a couple more using that big bunch I already made because it's easier. So next, what you're gonna want to do is place all of these grass strands into a collection called Grass Scatter. You'll see why later. Don't worry about it right now. Next up, we're gonna do the rocks. Create a new collection called Rocks Scatter. Rock Scatter. You're gonna need that. For the sake of simplicity, we're gonna use the rock add-on that comes with Blender. So to do that, go to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, and look up Extra Objects or Extra Meshes. It's either one of those two. I don't remember, bro. I'm doing this after the fact. So what you're gonna need to do is add mesh and click on Rock Generator. Now, in a future tutorial, I'm actually going to show how to make a custom rock generator because I don't really like using this one. Now, once you create about 4 to 5 of these rocks, what we're going to do is we're going to start texturing this rock. We're going to do it procedurally. I'm going to make the texture of one of the rocks gray and then add a bump map and then add the noise texture. Just use that. Play around with the settings. Make it look like a rock. I don't know, bro. Just do your shit. Why am I telling you how to texture a rock? Once you do this, select all the rocks and then select the main rock that you textured and then do Control L to link materials. So that way they easily just copy over. It's an easy way to do it. Thank me later. Thank me in the comments, guys. Give me a little smooch in the comments. I want smooch emojis only. Oh, and for a little extra step, because I wanted to just show off a little bit of what this thing can do, once you have all your rocks nice and set up, apply all the modifiers that happen to be on that, because the rock generator just gives you modifiers. Just apply them. Apply all of them, and then what you're going to want to do is probably subdivide all those rocks one more time, and then go into sculpt mode to add extra detail. A little known fact, if you use like clay strips, you could use any of the actual tools in sculpt mode, but add a texture to clay strips or clay buildup. I forget what it's called. Add a texture in the texture editor. Use clouds. Again, we only use clouds in this. We only use clouds. Stop acting like you don't only use clouds. All right, you're lying to me if you use other things. I'm kidding. There's other uses for all these other things. Simplicity's sake, use clouds. All right. And then yeah, just sculpt in extra details so this way it roughens up the rocks and makes them look a little bit more realistic. Add some like caves. Use the scrape tool. That's what I used. I used the scrape tool and a textured clay brush. It made it more bumpy. Added some like sharp surfaces and shit. Wax on, wax off? I don't know. We're moving on to the trees. All right, before we go on to the trees, I do want to mention that later on in the future, I don't know how many more weeks until I do this, but I'm going to be making a procedural tree generator. You get to do that thing you probably see on Instagram where people use curves and they draw essentially the shape of the tree and it generates the tree shape. It's a crazy tutorial to have to do, to be honest. The node setup alone is nasty, so we'll eventually get to it. But for now, for the sake of simplicity, again, because the tutorial is just about easy shit, doing it all for free in Blender, all that. What we're gonna do first is create a new collection. Call it Tree Scatter. Here's the thing. I kind of fucked up. I didn't realize that the add-on that I'm about to tell you right now didn't really work with the scatter method that I had. So that doesn't really matter. Just make a collection for your trees that keep them separated. Go to your add-ons again. And what you're gonna need to enable is Sapling Tree Gen. Again, it's a built-in kind of add-on for creating trees. And it has like a whole toolbar list, and you get to play around and make different types of trees, and you can even add leaves. They're very basic. I think you can actually make your own leaf and then apply that as the leaf. Either way, it's fine for now for the sake of this tutorial, but you know, get creative with that, guys. I've never used this until like almost like 2 days ago, I'm not gonna lie. Create 4 to 5 different trees to get some good variation. I made 3 because I'm more lazy than you. But make a lot of trees and you'll be good. You'll be good. Then what you're going to want to do is texture the leaves and the tree. I'm going to speed through this because I taught you how to, I showed the grass texturing. It's similar. I use gradients. I use like a bark texture with a normal map. It's simple. I don't know why I need to tell you guys this. Just, you know, this isn't a texturing tutorial, alright? Moving on again. Ow. Anyways, we're going to add a building and some little decorations in here. And again, for the sake of simplicity, I need a counter for the amount of times I say simplicity. Or if we go back to my last tutorial, the amount of times that I say essentially all you need. I probably did it again in this tutorial without even realizing it. What I want to talk about is some free stuff. I want to do this all for free without having to do as much work and model a whole building and all that. So look into using free websites like Free 3D, Turbo Squid, why am I blanking? I use them all. Well, I don't really use them as much anymore. There's a lot of them. I use Free 3D for this video, and I found a little hut for the video, you know? It's a little cute, had a little lamp on it. I thought it would match the kind of like cartoonish, realistic aesthetic. I don't even know what this video looks like, to be honest with you. But I decided to go with that. And for the decorations, I wanted to take a look at another free to use thing called Polycam. I think 3D's at the end of it, but Polycam. It is a free app that you can get on your iPhone. I'm not sponsored by them. I have friends that are, but I'm not. Polycam, if you're watching this, I would love to be sponsored by you. Anyways, what Polycam allows you to do is essentially 3D scan things in real life and use them as 3D models. For instance, I had this really cool statue at my dad's house, and I used that for because I just thought it looked cool. It was stone and shit, so I used that and I 3D scanned it. Here's the thing, it's not entirely free. If you have a iPhone with a LiDAR camera, look it up if you know which camera you have. I have an iPhone 13, which has the 3 camera thing. Essentially, it's actually not even the 3rd camera. It's a little tiny laser thing in there. And what that does, it is allows you to scan environments and understand, like, it's what allows your camera to do like AR stuff or like 3D scan or 3D tracking in real life. What you do is, you'll see it here, I 3D scanned some headphones, technically my whole beanbag, which is over there. LiDAR mode's free, easy to use, and you get a decent result Photo mode is actually better and you'll get better details, and that works on any iPhone and any device really, but you only get a few uses for it free. I think you get like 15 or like 10 or something like that. I don't use it that often because I have LiDAR, so I'm like, free. And to be honest, photo mode I only use for like really detailed shit. Eventually I plan on 3D scanning myself and then putting myself in the metaverse. Not really. That shit's dumb. Take a look at it. Again, Polycam, if you listening, please sponsor me. I need money. This YouTube thing is hard, son. I can't even get AdSense yet. Y'all need to subscribe. I need 1,000 subscribers before I can start monetizing these videos. I didn't know that. I didn't need that before, but apparently I do. So watch it up. watch up the videos. And my bad. I had to get some tea because you know I be sipping. I'm putting it in my shoe. My shoe is my cup holder right now. Whole new definition of shoeies. Alright, so right now this is what we have prepared. It's all looking great, you know, it looks cute. It's a bunch of little assets. And now that all the prep work is over, we can actually get started on building out this environment. Because you know, you gotta be prepped, you gotta be organized, you gotta do all this stuff. You know, something I want to promote here is to stay organized and stay prepared. And I also want to promote a healthy lifestyle. Do I look like I have a healthy lifestyle? Fuck no. But I sure as hell want to promote it. Again, just to keep this video simple and not have to model out actual land from scratch using planes and displacing it, and we're not doing that. We're not doing that. I don't want to do that. Do that on your own time, all right? What we're going to do is you're going to go into your add-ons again. This is the third add-on today. I don't know if there's any more. I forget. I wrote it out, but I don't know. Go into your add-ons and look up Ant Landscapes. A.N.T. Landscapes. What this is another thing that adds into your mesh list, and essentially what it does is it just makes like fucking land. And it has a bunch of settings, same as the rock generator, and it's very easy to use. It's definitely really good if you need a quick backdrop or something, and it's really perfect for this case scenario where we just need a basic layout for a shot. So, add that. Now, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to create a couple to essentially get the look you're going for. Use composition guides, if needed, really. And to do that, just go into your camera, go down. There's a bunch of composition guides on the viewport display area. And that way you can get like the golden ratio, rules of thirds, all that type of stuff. It's there if you need it. You don't really need it, but it's there. And essentially just make a bunch of these landscapes, land meshes, ants. I'm gonna call them ants. Make a bunch of these ants and place them around. Place them as far as the eye can see. Scale them, do whatever. Just get the general composition the way that you want it. Now, I also want to add water to this area, so I need to actually make some room for a little like river system thing. That was in my head when I was doing this. I was like, I want to add water. Fuck you. I want water. I'm thirsty. I'm taking another sip of my goddamn tea. Once you're happy with the general setup, go into edit mode and delete extra vertices that happen to be behind things or whatever. Depending if you're making a picture, this is definitely good. If you need to zoom through your environment, be careful if you're doing it for an animation. I did do this for an animation, so I made sure not to delete too much of things that needed to be seen. So, delete some faces, go into sculpt mode, scrape out, and like add extra texture. You're probably going to need to subdivide it just a little bit on all of them. Once you have the landscape that you want, you're going to join all of these landscapes together. Just selecting all of them, selecting one of them, same thing when you linked materials, and then Control J to join your object, so that way it makes one completed mesh. Then from there you can kind of just go in and sculpt out extra details, edit out proportions, and use proportional editing, and just kind of edit out some areas that you need and revamp the environment just a little bit, and it'll help make things go a lot smoother. All right, it'll make things just somewhat easier, right? For the height-based texturing, to do this, you're going to need 2 principled BSDFs, and you're going to mix them in with a mix shader. From there, you're going to add in a geometry node. You're going to also add in separate X, Y, and Z, and then add in a color ramp. Connect the normal data from the geometry node into the separate X, Y, and Z. Then grab the Z from the separate and add that into the color ramp. From there, add the color ramp into the mix shaders factor. And from there, you can start adjusting the values and see that you got yourself some height-based texturing, where the tops of everything, wherever it's flat, is going to be white, and anything that's like completely like downhill is going to be black. From there, you can just start adding in a bunch of textures and make it all simple like and all that. But do this to your heart's content. Texture it the way you want, obviously. We're going to create a water area. What you're going to need to do is create a plane, add a displacement modifier, and then next what we're going to do is we're going to texture the water. Now, the way I texture water might be a little cartoony, might not be really realistic. It doesn't really matter the way you do it. You can look up tutorials on how to realistically texture water. If you don't want to look that up and you want to go by mine, what you're going to need is 2 Voronoi textures and 2 color ramps, both plugged into a mix RGB, which you're going to place into the color. From there, you're going to pick some different colors and change the scale of the Voronoi, and also change the sliders of the color ramp for a desired look that kind of matches water. It's something that I do for like a more toon shaded water, but there are ways to make it, like the way I kind of did it makes it seem a little easier. And then from there, you're going to go into sculpt mode and start sculpting in details. What's actually really nice about this is that once you're done sculpting, you'll notice that it looks more cool. Like it kind of fucks up the Voronoi a little bit. It makes it a little bit more.
Well, it's not as far-fetched as it may seem. In fact, both local San Francisco papers are investing.
All right, now that you have all that prep work done, hold up. Let me get my shoe. Now that you have your environment set up, let's start actually using some of that prep work that we spent all that time on, man. We spent so much time on it, we didn't even use it yet. Come on, Josh, what are you doing? Anyways, what you're going to need to do is you're going to grab your building and your decoration, for instance, the statue that I took using Polycam, and place them in an area that looks pleasing to the eye. Use the composition guides if you need it, but this is really just kind of up to you on where you want to place them. I placed them here. I'm not looking at anything right now, so I placed them somewhere. You guys saw it. That's all that matters. I also want to note that we are going to be adjusting materials later on. I don't think about it as much right now until the environment is fully made, and then that's when I start going into color matching and all that types of stuff. That'll happen at the end. Let's talk about geonodes. So the way that we're actually going to distribute all of these scatter items is we're going to use geonodes. It's very simple. First, what you're going to want to do is on the landscape itself, which is where all the geonodes are going, create 3 vertex colors. It's going to be under vertex group. Name them rocks, grass, and trees. Again, we couldn't use the trees in this, so ignore the tree step for now. You'll kind of maybe, I think I might have deleted it from the video, but you don't need that. We're going to place the trees in separately, but if you have trees that are all built and all combined correctly, because the issue with this was that the trees happen to be separate from the actual leaves, so it was scattering like the branch and then the leaves like completely separately, and it's not what you want. So make sure you do that. Be aware. Be aware. In GeoNodes, add join geometry. Then after that, add distribute points on faces as well as instance on points. Then place one of the scatter objects, in this case the grass collection. We're going to drag the whole collection in, and we're going to separate children and reset children, and then you're going to plug that into instance on points. Make sure everything's all plugged up as you see here. On the distribute points on faces, we're going to use the rotation data and plug that into the instance on points rotation. Then we're going to use a random value to randomize the scale of the grass, making sure that your grass isn't too big, because normally it's going to be pretty big unless you scale it down ahead of time. I didn't do that, so do it after the fact. That's what editing is, baby. Always after the fact. Then from there, what you're going to need to do is you're going to put all of your controls that you want outside of the GeoNodes onto your modifier stack into the group input node. So for instance, this was for me, all I did for this one was just input the density field. And the only other thing that you're going to need to do is bring in the selection of the distribute points on faces. If you go onto your modifier settings from there, you're going to click that little like flag looking thing, select it, and then look for the vertex color that you made called grass. See, this is why we did it. All right. Now, what'll happen is you'll see the grass everywhere it's supposed to be, because what you're going to do next is go into vertex paint mode, which is the same place you go to find edit mode and sculpt mode. And from there, you're going to hit X to change the color to black. You can kind of see it on like the top part bar thing. And once it's on black, you're going to do Shift K to essentially make it all black. And then that way nothing is there. Black is a value of 0 and white is a value of 1, if that's how you need to think about it. Then hit X again to change the color back to white. And then from there, you can actually draw in or paint in where all of these scatters are. This is a really cool way, and we're gonna actually just repeat all of these steps with the rocks and the trees. Again, trees didn't work. You'll kind of see me fuck it up here, but just repeat the steps. It was easier. Literally just repeat it in the same GeoNodes. You could create multiple GeoNodes and stack those on top of each other, but you don't really need to. You can kind of just do it all in one GeoNode stack. For the sake of simplicity, that's kind of what I did. All right, now that we have all that done, we're actually going to go into our scatter objects and grab some of the rocks that we use to place in very specific rocks. Because here's the thing with scatter, it's random, all right? You're not going to get the perfect composition, but it's good to get general stuff out of the way. But if you have something very specific, like, oh, I want a tree to be specifically here or a rock to be here, you're going to want to actually take some of those scatter objects or create new rocks that are separate from all the scatter ones and place them to where you want to go. I placed rocks next to the house because I thought, you know, that was just a little bit easier. And then from there, we're going to place the trees in. I only used all three trees, and I didn't use any more because I think the scene was not big enough to put a fuck ton of trees how I originally was going to do it. Either way, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I think I duplicated one, and yeah. That is the tutorial, baby. I'm out. Just kidding. We'll do a little bit extra stuff to teach you guys some different shit from there. Some extra stuff. Let's add in some clouds. Let's also add in some volumetric fog, which, to be fair, I'm not going to use it in this video, but it's an option there, and I just wanted to show you guys how to do it because it's literally the same setup as the clouds. So what you're going to need to do is create a cube, set the cube up into the area that you want the clouds to be, go into the shader workspace, add a new material, delete that motherfucking Principled BSDF. You don't need that shit. It's useless here, man. What you're gonna need is a Principled Volume BSDF. Essentially, I think it's BSDF, just a Principled Volume shader. You're gonna plug that into the volume socket in the material output, and that's gonna give you a fucking cube of smoke. All right, that's what it is. That's essentially what it is. From there, what you're going to need is a Voronoi texture and a color ramp. Plug the Voronoi texture into a color ramp, and then plug that color ramp into the Principled Volumes density socket. From there, you can adjust the Voronoi settings to kind of make like a sort of cloud-like shape. You could use noise, you could use Musgrave textures. The texture doesn't matter, all right? Thing is, it's procedural. That's kind of how I do it, so I use Voronoi. Whatever, sue me. probably will. Don't sue me. Then from there, just play around with the settings. Probably change the value of the white slider on the color ramp to be somewhat higher than 1. You're gonna have to type that value to be like 10, 5. I think I went around 5 for this edit. And from there, you're good. Just make it look like a cloud. Play with the color a little bit, and there you go. Then from there, to make a fog layer, it is actually the same thing. Create a cube, volume shader, Voronoi with a color ramp, and just make the color ramp somewhat lower, so it's like almost like mist. But that's what we're gonna get to now. For the sake of this edit, we're gonna actually utilize the mist pass. Now, to do a mist pass, what you're going to need to do, and this is really simple, is go into click this button. I forget what it's called because I'm not looking at my computer right now, and I think it's visibility or render passes or something like that. Something passes or data passes. Go into data properties or something like that and check mist. From there, go into your world settings and you'll see a new column that comes up, or a new row that comes up that says mist pass. From there, you can actually adjust your settings, and to actually view your mist pass, go into the shader view or the rendered view. I like the shader view, it's a little bit easier to work with. Click the down arrow and then go to the part where it says combined and change that over to mist. That way you can actually see your mist pass, which is a black and white value thing. Then from there, go into your world settings and actually start adjusting the mist pass from there under that row column that says mist pass. Very easy. Just kind of do all that. What you're gonna need to do, now this is not really a secret, but I feel like this is easier because there are ways to render out your video alongside with the mist pass, but because I want to utilize this mist pass in After Effects and we're gonna comp everything like that, what I'm gonna do is a little bit different than what most people do. So bear with me. Essentially what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure everything that is in view is on. So the house, all the scatter layers, the trees, the landscape, the water, everything. The only thing you don't need on is your cloud layers and your fog layers. You don't need them. Again, I actually deleted the fog layer for this, so just delete it. You don't need it. And yeah, what you're gonna do from there is once everything's on, you're going to go into, you're gonna click view on the top left, and then down below you're gonna see viewport render animation. What that's gonna do is, because you're already viewing, it's rendering out what's in the viewport. So if you have the mist pass layer open, it's going to render out your mist pass. It's kind of an easier, simpler way of doing it, in my opinion, because sometimes setting up mist passes is a little annoying and you get sharp edges and shit. I don't like messing with it. This is just easier. You get the gradients in there, so it works a lot better. Your mist pass is all rendered out. Now, let's actually set up some like decent lighting for this place in the render mode. We're gonna use Eevee, not using cycles, just faster for me. I don't like using cycles, to be honest. Eventually, I think if I have a better graphics card, because I'm currently using a 2070, so it's kind of shit. I thought I had a 3070 for the longest time. I don't know why I thought that. Either way. Now, for the lighting, what you're gonna need to do is go into your world settings. From there, you're gonna click the little yellow dot, and then it's gonna just ask you to, it's gonna tell you a bunch of things you can add in. Select environment texture. From there, open up an HDRI. HDRIs are sometimes free, you can pay for them, but they're cool free places to get them, like HDR Haven. HDRI Haven is a good one. It's kind of the one I use. There's a lot of free HDRIs out there. Use that. Essentially, it's just a 360-degree photo of an actual environment, and it uses that to add lighting into your environment. It's very simple, very easy. Use that. Trust me, please. Please. All right. And then once you have that, we're gonna actually add some more lights. So the main thing you need is a sunlight. That's really all you need. Create a sunlight, place it into your environment, adjust it to where it looks good, maybe fits the direction of your HDRI a little bit, because that's what I usually do. And then from there, add in some point lights to areas that need it. I just kind of added point lights because I wanted a little bit extra blues in some of the trees, so I did that. You don't need to do that. You really just need a sun and an HDRI, to be quite honest. People might disagree with me on there. Listen to them probably. I don't know. I just did it this way. It was easier and it looked good for the sake of this. Now, when rendering this out, what you're going to need is you're going to render. When you're rendering this out, what you're going to need to do is go into all the render settings and at the bottom change filmic to standard. Then after that, turn on ambient occlusion. You can copy my settings here. Turn on ambient occlusion and turn on screen space, refractions, and just bump up go into the shadow settings and turn those to the highest number, which I think is like 4096 on both of the values there. Then from there into the actual output section, change your color data to 16 bits and then turn off compression and make it an RGB file, RGB PNG file. Then from there, just make sure it outputs as into your render section and then click render animation, and you are done. All right, now let's go into some comp settings. This is pretty easy, pretty standard, simple stuff. What you're gonna need to do is in After Effects, you're going to bring your render and your mispass in there. From there, you're going to put your render in first and then layer your mispass on top. You can then set a blending mode to your mispass to either add, screen, or whatever. Usually those two are really the only two you could use. And you essentially have your fog. You could add a tint effect to your mispass to actually change the color of the white value to be an actual color, right? That's always an option. You could also maybe add lens flares or anything like that. What's also really cool about the mispass is that you can use it to directly affect camera blur. So you can add an adjustment layer and put on camera lens blur, click on the matte layer of the camera lens blur and select the mispass. This will use that black and white value data set from the mispass to essentially create a little blur map. It's crazy. It's very helpful. So use that to your whim. This is what a lot of gaming editors do, from like T3C and stuff. If you've ever watched them, they use this style of effect a lot. All of their mist and fog stuff is usually done with that. I prefer this in terms when it comes to doing fog, is to do a mispass. So do that instead of volumetrics. It renders faster. And then yeah, add some color correction, curves, hue and saturation, some toner. I don't know, whatever. Add all that shit. You guys, I'm not here to do a coloring tutorial here. Just do all that. Oh, also, because I didn't record this, I think. Once we're done lighting the environment, we're gonna start retexturing everything and just making sure everything's perfect and adjusting some of the materials, because some of them are blatant. Like the statue was a little oversaturated and the house color was a little too cartoony for the look I was going for. So just make sure you're doing all that. And I also adjusted the material of the roof of the house to be a little bit less like a matte, like kind of gloss on top. And I used the actual color data of that, turned it into a black and white value, and used that as a specular and roughness for the roof, and it looks better. So yeah, once you have all that and you're done, that's the end of the tutorial. Thank God I have an A7S, because to be honest with you, it got really dark, and you probably noticed that. I had to turn up the ISO. Thank God A7S has handled darkness so well. Yeah, anyways, this is the end of the tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it taught you something. Again, I'm not here to teach you guys exactly how to make my environment. Don't remake my environment. I'm teaching you techniques on how to create an environment. It's easy. just do that, okay? You don't need me around to tell you how to actually make these environments and stuff. Or these specific effects. I'm teaching you techniques. Some techniques in here that were involved. You probably learned how to scatter things using geonodes and vertex painting, height-based texturing on landscapes, how to render out mist passes in a slightly easier way. In my head, it's easier. So many more procedural texturing on rocks. Like I'm teaching you guys a lot here. But in the grand scheme of things, this will help you create so much more than just this shitty environment that I spent barely a day on, okay? I barely spent an hour making this entire environment. It'll take you a little bit longer to work on something yourself, but I'm giving you general advice here, okay? Take it or leave it. Either way, if you like this type of video, you like the little like new setup that I'm doing with this, you like the new mic and all that. The only reason this isn't over there is because I don't have a way to plug this into my computer besides my laptop. So I really just hope you enjoyed the video. I'm gonna keep making more new tutorials every Monday. I think this Friday I'm going to post like an update video to talk about the content that I'm making for the few of you that actually watch. It's just a general thing. I want whoever is watching to be aware of what is to come, because I update pretty frequently on Instagram, but for the sake of just being transparent, I want to tell you guys what's going on. Like, it's not just tutorials coming out. For instance, I have animations coming out every month starting July, and they're going to be like once a month things. Tutorials every Monday for the rest of the year, and then maybe next year, but at least for this year it's going to happen. And there's some other things, but I'll talk about it more on Friday. So yeah, peace out, guys. If you liked it, subscribe, like, all that. Let me end it with a little song. I'm kidding.
Imagine, if you will, sitting down to your morning coffee, turning on your home computer to read the day's newspaper. Well, it's not as far-fetched as it may seem. In fact, both local San Francisco papers are investing a lot of money to try and get a service just like that started. Science editor Steve Newman reports on one person already using the brand new system.